President at the Foundation for the Defense of Democracies. And Kira Rudik is a member of the Ukrainian parliament. Thank you both for being on. So that was our own Newsmax's Mike Carter asking the president about the consequences for Russia if the president of Russia does not decide to end this aggression against Ukraine. And Kira, I'd like to start with you, and as a Ukrainian parliament member, how do you feel about this meeting happening tomorrow between Putin, between Trump? Are you optimistic about this? What can you share with us from your vantage point?
Thank you so much for asking that question at the press conference. It was very important to hear the answer to all of us. Here we are very cautious because on the one hand, we are looking to see the famous peaceful strengths that President Trump has promised, and we are really looking forward and hoping that he will be successful at this promise. However, we do not trust Putin. We never trusted because we have facts proving that he will not keep his part of the bargain, and we are looking forward security guarantees or any other guarantees to what happens if Putin breaks his word. Is President Trump prepared to that? Also, we think that it is not the best strategy with Russia to promise some sanctions or repercussions and then not to go ahead with it, because they only understand the language of strength, the language of force. We know President Trump is very successful in this language, and we hope that he will be able to execute on it.
Okay, so cautiously optimistic. That's sort of how I understand it to be right now. Cliff, let me play you this soundbite. Vladimir Putin recently hosting a news conference, and he shares this about how he views President Trump.
I want to update you on where we stand with today's American administration, which, as everyone knows quite well, is making rather energetic and sincere efforts, in my view, to halt hostilities, end the crisis, and reach agreements beneficial to all parties involved in this conflict.
Cliff, how are you interpreting those words?
Well, Putin's mission when he gets to Alaska is to string President Trump along, or tag him along, as President Trump has said. Keep in mind, Putin is a retired lieutenant colonel in the KGB. He has killed many people, not in Ukraine, obviously, men, women, and children, but also his political enemies. What he was going to want to do is try to negotiate and get advantages and take more territory and try to persuade Trump to go along with that. Trump has sounded pretty good, I would say, on understanding how this has to work to be successful. He has to take the measure of Putin. That's why he's sitting down with him and see, is Putin willing to cease hostilities? Is he willing to have a ceasefire? If there's a ceasefire, then you can proceed to negotiations over other things that could lead to a truce, an armistice, a frozen conflict, a cessation of hostilities. Call it what you will. I wouldn't call it peace. I would even call it a path to peace. But that's very important. He's got to essentially say to Putin, look, I wanted a ceasefire. I want a ceasefire. Zelensky's agreed to a ceasefire.
Sure.
You have to give me a ceasefire.
Sure.
No more killing. I don't like it. If you don't, you know what I'm going to do. I am going to squeeze your war economy, and I can do that. I have the power. I am going to accelerate and escalate munitions to the Ukrainians so they can better defend themselves. And by the way, you've got about $300 billion of Russian assets in Europe. I think that will have to be used to rearm the Ukrainians and also for reparations for the damage you've done. At that point, Putin may say, okay, we'll have a 30-day ceasefire.
Got to jump in here.
They'll figure I'll do better in the negotiations.
We're running a little low on time there. The president says he'll find out within 2 minutes if a deal could be made. We have a reporter on the ground to monitor that situation. Cliff May, Kira Rudik, thank you so much.